Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Banner and Backbone's Anti-Fascist Book Club. I'm Nick Perro, your host, joined by my other hosts and colleagues, Tara Devlin of the Political Voices Network and Tara
Hello.
Buster. Hey, Tara, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty
And
good. Thank you.
good. It's good to see you. Good to have you with us today. And as always, we've got, as always, joining us too is Chris Goldsmith of On Offense, Veterans Fighting Fascism, Task Force Butler, all of the things. Chris, how's it going?
All right. Busy.
Yeah, I think we're all there right now. So welcome back, everyone. As you come on in, joining us on Substack, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Hey, everyone! It's good to see y'all here. If you're joining us live, and if you're catching the replay, it's great to have you with the replay as well. This is the Anti-Fascist Book Club here on Banner and Backbone. And we are currently in the midst of a discussion into To Catch a Fascist by Christopher Mathias. And we've been having a really good discussion over the last couple of weeks around the information in this book, what it's providing to us, some of the things that we didn't know before, new things that are being brought to us. So it's a great learning experience. And we're using this as an opportunity to teach. And so, Chris, do you mind going into, as always, what the book club is and what the book club isn't before we get into our book today?
Sure. So I'm actually preparing a very trolly Substack to talk about this. So one of the things that I think a lot of people are frustrated with, there's like a big argument going on online. I'm sure you've seen it, where people are talking about how like these protests are not accomplishing anything. They're a waste of your time, which is kind of true. And other people are arguing like this is a massive show of solidarity. It's grown from 3,000 to 5,000 to 7,000 or whatever the numbers are, which shows that more and more people are feeling mobilized. But at the end of the day, are these 7 million people taking daily acts of resistance throughout their life? No. If they did, we I think be in a better situation. So one of the reasons that people aren't being more active in their resistance, and we're still living with kind of like this 10 years of hashtag resistance bullshit, is that people don't know what to do. People don't know how to organize. People are not professionally trained organizers, nor have they lived under an oppressive regime long enough or in a difficult situation enough to figure out how to do it on their own. So I've developed a guide to help you get started, and it's called the Anti-Fascist Book Club. So if you go to veteransfightingfascism.org, the entire website is dedicated to the Anti-Fascist Book Club. And I think the way that I can put it most concisely is to think of it as a social lubricant that becomes a social glue. The goal when you go to when you go to a No Kings protest tomorrow is not just to wave signs and stand in solidarity with millions of Americans across the world, because that does a little bit, like inspiring hope. Yes, that's very important, but you can do a lot more. And one of the ways that you can do more is by building community. So we're doing it online here. We, have a set time every week that we meet, that we discuss, the issues of the day, that we, make plans to do other stuff outside of this meeting, right? That is the goal of the Anti-Fascist Book Club, is to give you the social lubricant, a reason to meet somebody, a reason to say at this time and place we're going to meet. And from there, your discussions that may be about a book turn into how you're going to take the lessons that you learn from that book and act upon them. Not saying everybody should infiltrate neo-Nazi organizations. There's a lot of important work to do now, and that's not for everybody. But if you go to veteransfightingfascism.org and you see the Anti-Fascist Book Club reading list, it is curated to help you learn what to do, how to organize, and how you can integrate anti-fascism into everyday life.
Well, and so Chris, you are a great resource on this and an expert in this area. And so with No Kings rally coming up, for those who are participating and are going to the rally, what are a couple things that you would recommend for them to prepare ahead of time so that they can safely participate in the rally and ensure that those around them are also safe?
So I'm going to give a little spoiler for what my Substack that I'm going to publish soon, maybe while we're on this live stream. I want people to go with one goal. These protests have proven to be very safe. There have not been any real significant incidents, and not significant incidents at scale. These protests have largely been non-confrontational. Law enforcement has been really permissive of them. I expect today to be this, or tomorrow's protest to be the same. So I'm not going to waste your time with safety tips. Instead, I want you to go with one goal tomorrow, and that is to connect with 3 people. And I mean, like, really connect. What I'm writing in my Substack right now is that you can go to veteransfightingfascism.org and you can print out copies, you download PDFs of the Anti-Fascist Book Club leader guides, to get started with. Print out 3 copies and just make your goal tomorrow. Not, yes, you're expressing your anger, your rage, your hope for our democracy, but you need to build connections, because building that community is the only way that you can fight fascism. You can't do it alone. So just go to the No Kings protests with the sole goal of connecting with people that you don't already know and making concrete plans. Not saying, oh, we'll meet, oh, we'll exchange numbers, we'll text, we'll create a signal group. No, you need to pick a time, pick a place, and pick a date within the next week. Because if it stretches out beyond that, you're not going to do it. So within the next week, you have to meet with those 3 people, be it a library, be it a bar, be it a coffee shop. Hand them copies of the Anti-Fascist Book Club. So if you never see them again, if you enter their number wrong in your phone, they'll at least have the tools so that they can get started and do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks. That's a great, I think that's great. And it's more actionable than just going and feeling good. Yes, go. Feel good. If you want to participate in the rally, be there with other people. That does help build community, especially if you're in a red state and you feel isolated. Find a No Kings rally in your state. Go to it, because you're going to find so many people who are like-minded, so many more than you expect to. Like, this isn't about red versus blue anymore in this country. It is about pro-democracy versus fascism. And you are going to find a lot of people are anti-fascism. And our goal, and my goal and my need anyways, is that we convince people to at least be pro-democracy. We have to convince people that democracy is the better choice than fascism. And to do that, we have to make community. We have to make friends. We have to meet new people, because democracy is an extension of community anyway. It's just community at scale. Fascism is domestic violence and domestic abuse at scale, or just abuse at scale. And so we're fighting an abusive system, and we can do that, but that requires community. And so I love what Chris just said, is go do something actionable and print out the VFF leadership guidebook, which over Tara's head right now is a QR code for the VFF AFBC guide. So we already have a link to it, so you can just scan that QR code if you're on a screen that's able to scan that right now. Well, it's always linked in the post show notes, so you always can get access to those guides and this information. Just go print it out. And this is something too, like if you have a community resource fund in your community, like if you are building a parallel system in your community and your community is creating, say, a mutual aid fund, use this as part of that. Instead of paying out of pocket, if you have a mutual aid fund in your system that would support this, have them print it out. You can get it done today. It's very easy. Go to a library and do it. Support your local library, pay for it out of pocket and support your local library if you have the means to do that. Print more than 3 so that if you're going to a rally with other people that you know, they too can hand out 3 copies. If you have the ability and the financial means to do it, be the one who does it. Volunteer to be the one who does it. If you can print out more than 3 copies for other people, come ultra prepared. That way your friends too can hand out 3 copies, because if you're going with friends, that's 3 more people. Instead of 4 people, you now have 8 people. 8 people is a good thing. 8 people will then bring 2 more friends. And then you have 16, and you can just keep doubling that over and over and over again. It's very, very easy once people start seeing what we're actually fighting. Because once you get past the politics of it and you just get to the meat of what's actually going on, most people are still pro dignity, are still pro human, still want rights for themselves and for their children. Most people still want those things. We have to be the ones to convince them finally. And to do that, you have to show them that you are a person too. Stop giving up and saying, I can't do it. Go out and just do it. Just go out and talk to people. It doesn't take a lot to go out and talk to your neighbors. Go say hi to them. Go pick up a conversation. You may find that your neighbor is more reasonable than you first anticipated, and they may be someone who could use a copy of the VFF AFBC guidebook and leadership book, and they might want to start their own thing. Or you may find they're part of an indivisible group or something already in your area, and you can spread to that too. So use this as an opportunity to spread your influence and knowledge too, and go grow, because that's really all this is about, is getting more information out there and giving you guys the tools to action on it. And before the show, before Chris got here with us, I was talking about one of the sections that I had been reading, and I wanted to go into it a little bit. It was about it's about mental health and a little bit of and some of the bigotry that goes into like neurodivergence and the way they speak about it, but also how those who tend to be somewhat neurodivergent also tend to fall on the pro-democracy spectrum quite a bit and use their influence and power, and that becomes their superpower, or their like ADHD hyper focus point is pro-democracy efforts, and they pretty much just single out everything else and just do pro-democracy. And there's a quote in here. It's a longer passage, but it's on pages 116 to 117 if you have the hard copy of the book. And it is talking about a gentleman named, or after a gentleman named Paul Town was outed as a 20-something man in Coxsackie, New York, who had tweeted that he was autistic and who Anonymous Comrades Collective argued was part of a broader effort to recruit more neurodiverse people into the ranks of explicit white supremacy. Large passage here to follow is, quote, "The subject of correlation versus causation of racism and other forms of bigotry with mental health is complicated and disputed. Neurodiversity and mental illnesses are not the same, and both are commonplace in the broader society and should not be stigmatized. The weird and wonderful human beings governing us all. Many are neurodivergent. Many have grappled with some form of mental illness. Neither of these are excuses for racism, anti-Semitism, and bigotry. One clear delineation between the alt-right and preceding white nationalists and neo-Nazi movements was the very effective technology-driven recruitment efforts. Rather than leaving flyers on car windows and grocery stores or stuffed in random mailboxes, the alt-right weaponized group pop culture, strategically targeting children and young adults through memes, Disney song parodies, and cartoon characters like Pepe the Frog and the Groiper. One cruel aspect of this was the specific targeting of vulnerable people in various social media and gaming platforms. The alt-right aggressively targeted the socially isolated, the neurodiverse, and the mentally ill, celebrating terms like weaponized autism and variations on autisty and spurg were used to radicalize and encourage neurodiverse people into increasingly reckless and hateful online behavior. The sole reward being plaudits from other anonymous participants. The anonymity behind the cartoon avatars divorced the online actions from real life accountability and encouraged accelerated, outrageous rhetoric and behavior. End quote. There's a lot in there, but I think I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on that passage too. I just think I look back at it now, and I see how certain spaces were left alone and nobody ever went into them to specifically target the audience group that was using those spaces. So like video games. I'm a big video game player. I like playing video games. I like playing World of Warcraft and games like that, and Diablo and RPGs and over the shoulder like dungeon crawling games. But those spaces are so toxic if you get into the chat spaces. If you enter any of the chat areas of some of these MMORPGs or role-playing games or anything like that, the spaces are just toxic. Because we sort of just didn't, people were like, well, I might be a really good video game player, but I don't want to talk about my politics or my beliefs in any way.
Whereas, but why is it so toxic? I play video games myself. I play this Game of Thrones game that I'm on a team, and it's like a worldwide thing. It's for people of it's for people over the age of 18. So there's a lot of, it's a big wide range of ages. But and it's, I don't find it as toxic. I'm just wondering, because I think that the community has that kind of standards, but I'm just wondering why in certain games, let's say, that there are it's more toxic than others, right?
Certain games are targeted to audiences like men who are lonely. And so they'll hypersexualize characters. They'll make characters more aggressive towards women, or they'll use symbols that are supposed to be for like peaceful initiatives and corrupt them. This character from a British game, I think like Rachel or something, who was this anti-fascist character and has been put on the internet as like this hyper-fascist like symbol, and it's a targeting towards boys more so than men, but it's a targeting towards young boys in games like Roblox, where it's really unregulated and it's unmonitored, and because we don't have safety standards on social media platforms or on gaming or on like chat platforms and things like that, there's no real moderation unless you build it in yourself. In a lot of ways, is they're allowed to make these Discord chats that then just subtly at first take you from, I don't know, like let's say Diablo. I don't know. I'm not in any of that culture, so I stay away from video game chats as much as I can, because they can be really toxic. But let's say Diablo. Somebody plays Diablo a lot and they like doing the campaigns and they like teaming up with random folks on the internet. That kid may have found, let's say that it's like a 15-year-old kid or something like that. It is a grooming operation. They target children, and then they start feeding them disgusting narratives, and they start telling them when they get angry or they lose in a game that it's not your fault that you lost in the game, it's somebody else's fault. It's always this character's fault, and it's always this blame cycle too. As Jack said in our chat, it's like pouring salt in a wound and then telling them that the more toxic you are, the less hurtful the salt will be as you rub it into your wound. And that's the kind of thing they teach. Well, it's the incel culture thing. It builds incel culture, and it's accelerationist gripper shit.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's just how fascism in general, because when we talk about, it attracts the people who feel like they've been left behind, so to speak, and it gives them kind of status and belonging and community.
It's like Twitch. Let's say you have a much larger audience on Twitch than I do. But Twitch Twitch is a great platform and also an example of where people just sit and watch somebody else playing video games all
Right.
day
Yeah.
and subtly hear what they think. And some of the really large platforms that these sites monetize are those who are more aggressively right-wing pipeline, um,
Wow.
and feed into the narrative. And so it's a systemic problem. It's a structural thing with the
Yeah.
systems, and it's more than parents were aware or didn't know how to disconnect things. I think it's
Right.
more that the tools are not even in place to support, in a lot of areas, the safety protocols that they need. And this online
Yeah.
space became so unregulated that it just sucked people in and let
Uh,
people get sucked in.
And that's what's so I mean, just in general, if you think about, if you have a public town square, you wouldn't be able to go into that town square, set up a platform and whatnot, start screaming racial slurs, right? Before you
Well,
would be.
nowadays you might be able to.
Maybe not. I mean, not in my neighborhood. You
So I
could
want to
do it, but there would be consequences. You would be arrested, told to leave. You would be at least, and if you continued, arrested on disorderly conduct. I would imagine, and so I just think that there should be some kind of standards in the online space like that too, just the minimals. But of course, that's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation,
Chris,
really.
you wanted
yeah,
to
I want to bring it back to where you started your question as about neurodivergent stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I mean there are many, but one of the reasons that there is this emphasis on the use of slurs like spurg, even if self-described,
Oh, fuck.
is the idea within society, and especially within this community. They're trying to promote the idea that people with neurodivergence are not responsible for their own actions, that it is just their nature. So they use this diagnosis, which it's not a diagnosis for the vast majority of them. They use this as a shield to basically say, oh, I'm not racist. I just don't engage in the normal social cues or behavior. I'm just saying it because I don't know social rules. Right. So that, I think, is the biggest reason that they use these any discussion of Asperger's. Again, it's Asperger's is no longer part of like the DSM. I'm pretty sure it's not a term.
Yeah, it's been taken out.
Yeah. It's also a reference to Dylan Roof, who walked into a church in South Carolina and murdered people. A lot of people know of Dylan Roof as a racist, as someone who murdered Black people, who sought them out. But a lot of people don't understand the depth of what he is or was. He referred to himself, his like online persona was the last Rhodesian. This is one of those things that like the Proud Boys and other extremist groups have kind of like worn dog whistles to communicate to one another, like this inside joke. A lot of people don't know the history of Zimbabwe. The country of Zimbabwe used to be named Rhodesia when it was basically a white colony. So they'll wear shirts that say make Zimbabwe Rhodesia again. Right. That's their way of communicating, like a history of anti-Blackness, a history of supporting colonization, of subjugation of people of color. So when Dylan Roof used that persona of the last Rhodesian, he could use that handle in places where the vast majority of people who read it had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
I for almost all of my life, when I heard Rhodesian, I just thought, okay, Rhodesian Ridgeback, the dog. It's the only time that I ever heard the word Rhodesian, right? Until Dylan Roof. And that was what, mid-20 teens. So, this is something that I've only relatively recently been educated on.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the like use of the term spurg is a way to shield themselves from consequences for acting belligerently and with racist and anti-Jewish hate. And it's also a callback, like anytime they talk about bowl cuts, to a mass murderer, to a racist murderer.
And Chris, I do, and y'all know I do a lot of stuff on the masculinity side, and all this is a pipeline for folks who have a harder time processing, either who have emotional dysregulation or an executive function disorder. I have ADHD, and I understand where this comes from, and like how easy it would be to fall into the trap of, oh, it's just my ADHD, I can't control it. But that's forking over your accountability onto others and your unwillingness to live with any of the consequences of your actions. And it's the dumbest type of masculinity out there. It's also the dumbest type of humaning, just in general. Like, boys are being taught, and this is where you have to step in as a parent. This is where you have to step in as a sibling, as a aunt or an uncle, as a grandparent, as somebody is sorry, is you have to step in and tell those people and talk to your family members and say, no, it's not okay to blame everybody else for your problems. It's not okay. You cannot use a disability as an excuse. I don't use my disability as an excuse for what I do or say. I take onus of what I'm saying and how I say things. I understand that my ADHD makes it harder for me in areas to do things. And so I have to learn how to correct that behavior, not because I want to fit in with society, but because it's the right thing to do, because it's the right action to take, because I have values and I'm willing to live with them. And I want to continue to host my values, which means I have to keep practicing them and get better at them. You have to build your own tool set. What these boys, for the most part, are being taught is that it's okay that the only feeling that you have is anger. It's okay that the only feelings that you have are resentment or fear, or you're not good enough, or it's all about hate and fear and putting yourself down and telling yourself you're not good enough, but it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of us who have emotional dysregulation issues, that trap is very easy to fall into because it's very comfortable. Because you can say you just blame your disorder, but that's lazy, in my opinion. That's a lazy way to think about yourself. That doesn't give you any value or any drive. And so you're just hurting yourself when you say stupid shit like that. And so it's on us to come back with that too, to our family members. Like, it's a simple thing, is you tell your kids, hey buddy, I love you. You're awesome and you're amazing. He's sitting right in front of me. My son is. He's sitting on the other side of my desk behind my monitor. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying this to him and to you guys, is remind your kids that they're amazing. Remind them that they're smart, that they have values, that they are worth something, that their actions have consequences. If they do something wrong, there's a natural consequence to that action, not a made up bullshit consequence. Make it natural, make it fit, because then you start to figure out how to regulate, and you can easily push back on those systems and those chats. And again, as a parent, it is not an invasion of privacy to your children to monitor their chat and communications until they are an adult. It is not an invasion of their privacy, because it is your responsibility as their parent or as their caretaker and their guardian to ensure that they are safe, that they are not being taught hate, that they are learning good values and lessons, and you're imparting things to the future for them. And sometimes you have to go in and check their chats because you need to see what other people are saying to them and how they're responding to it, so you can teach them. It's your damn job.
Right. Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, it's I think that there are many parents of, you know, organized white supremacists who are completely caught off guard because their children are otherwise, you know, seemingly high performing, seemingly socialized. There are, you know, members of extremist organizations that are not just engineers, right? But like engineers and a friends group, engineers and people who, you know, play team sports. You know, this kind of hate, specifically this organized hate, is trained into people. It is, you know, people through gaslighting, through repetition, all forms of manipulation are used deliberately by these extremist communities to radicalize otherwise normal people. And one of the things that I failed to mention when the discussion of Asperger's was up is a lot of it has to do with being like trying to be edgelords, which I think is, you know, coming up with jokes that are like not okay to say in certain groups.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like being an edgelord, I think, is attractive to a lot of young men. This especially, you know, I can speak from my own experience at least. It is a form of rebellion, and it's not. I think that young men, and I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or sociologist. Like, I don't know the psychiatry behind it. Again, I'm speaking about my own experience. Rebelling isn't about trying to be an asshole. It's about finding autonomy. So, you know, in the discussion about monitoring the communications of your kids, you do have to, I think, find some balance. I was a pretty clever kid, and I kind of thought of it like a game to see what I could get away with when I was a kid. So, you know, had my parents been more aggressive about monitoring me, I would have become more skilled with hiding things. So,
Oh yeah.
so there's a balance there that I think people should keep in mind, because it can
Mm-hmm.
it can backfire.
Right.
I
But
think the why is, sorry, Tara,
it's okay.
the why is really important when you talk to your kids about this. Like, you can't just go in and violate your kids' personal space. You have to tell them why. They have to understand what you're doing and why. And that takes time. Like, it takes trust and it takes time to build that relationship of why, and why I'm providing this to you, or why I'm doing this, why I'm checking your communications, why you're not allowed to use these certain games. Like, we took Roblox off my son's tablet and we told him why. And he's 9. I didn't lie to him. I didn't tell him, oh, you just can't play the game anymore. I said, no, you can't play the game because there are continuing incidents of children being abducted.
Mm.
He's old enough to know that. If kids can be abducted at his age, he's old enough to know that it happens. And so he's old enough to know that that game is not safe. And so he stopped playing it. He gave me his tablet. He deleted it himself. He was like, here you go, deleted, gone.
Right.
Did the same for my daughter, and she was like, okay, cool, gone.
Well, that's the
We
thing.
built trust. We built that trust over time of, I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this to help. And here's why it's helping.
Right. Well, kids want boundaries, whether they
Yes.
complain about it or not. It shows that you love them, and they recognize that, really. And it does go to show you that, just in general, if there was after January 6th something called the Great Deplatforming, right? Which, of course, has now been completely reversed thanks to Elon Musk and all of the other nefarious actors who are controlling our social media outlets. But these fascist alt-right communities, and it's just like what you're saying, it goes to show you how sinister they are, because they go into these non-political spaces to find angry young men, and it's a form of grooming, just like a pedo would groom. They're grooming young people to be part of this hate group, and it's we don't monitor it at our peril, really. And I think that's where we are. I don't know, they seem to have really because of that, having to think outside the box, so to speak, that they've been able to be so successful in their recruitment, because it feels like we're always catching up.
Well, and it's, yes, they have a machine of investment that put in so much money to get these people into platforms, and when they found people who were at least somewhat aligned with what they were doing, they helped get them further aligned so that they could be fully platformed on, say, a large Twitch or a large YouTube channel. And the left has not always done the same. Right now, a lot of people are out here doing it, are saying, you know what, I'm fucking fed up with this. We were so quiet. Again, it goes back. Part of it is our fault, is we allowed this to happen. We were too passive. We were too passive in our rejection of fascism. We said all ideas are worth equal weight, so we must hear them out and listen to their ideas. And we can't be mad that they have this idea that they hate. We just have to try and convince them otherwise. No, we let these spaces become hateful spaces because we didn't do the same work and recruitment pipelines for young men. We left them to spaces that were alone and said, okay, and now we have a young men's problem. Now we have a men's problem where men are fucking awful or horrendous because we let half a generation or longer just go unmonitored in these spaces. And the funny thing is, the right wing talked about it too. They yelled about it, that people were grooming their children. They just said it was those on the left who were grooming their children and not who were on the right further radicalizing their children. Because Nick Fuentes is a right-wing fucking Nazi and a crazy piece of shit. And they opened the space for him. The Groyper aspect of all of this is terrible. Like, we can go into, and the thing is, we can take these spaces back. We just have to have people who are willing to put the effort in right now, very quickly, to build up their platforms or to use their existing platforms to start talking about these issues. And yeah, men have always been a problem. There's a history of problems with men throughout written history. Like, the history of starting wars is men got angry about something and decided they wanted to take something from somebody else. History of wars. There's like one, maybe two wars in our entire history that were started by women. Maybe.
I don't know. I have to look that up. Really. I guess Helen of Troy, but she didn't really start.
She didn't start the war. It was men who started that war about her. Like,
exactly.
The history of starting war, the history of aggression, yes, is a lot on men. We have not taken the opportunities to learn from those around us to better ourselves. We have systematically destroyed that.
Yeah, Boudica.
And we can stop it. The thing is, we can do it. We have the collective ability to continue building these shows, these outreach centers, people going into different spaces. Like, I know people out here love playing video games. There's some of you who are probably great video game players and have a stream. Start talking politics a little. Let your opinion be known on your platforms. And if you lose subscribers, too bad. They weren't good subscribers then. You didn't want them, or they didn't want to learn.
Yep.
And use your influence. Like, I've started from nothing 8 months ago to get here, and y'all come back every week. Like, there's 230 of you on the Banner and Backbone one. We've got Terra's going with at least 30 or 40, if not more, separately. Like, it may not be a large audience at the moment. We compete with large creators who come on at this time too. However, you guys come back and you learn, and you're spreading this to others around you. And that's more important than just listening to the talking heads that say, oh, hey, here's the news of the day. Well, you know the news of the day. Here's the tips of the day on the thing you can do. If you have a streaming platform and you like playing video games, make sure to sign up for Twitch and go get a streaming platform bigger and start talking about politics. Don't have to do it broadly. Don't have to say, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm an independent. Just go out and talk about the things that you have value for. Talk about the values that you have and the things that matter. And maybe if you're a parent, things that you're teaching your children and the communications that you're doing, talk about it in how you're playing the game too. Make sure you are explicit in your chats. Boot people when they're fucking racist assholes. Do the things that you know need to be done. You just haven't done them. Don't wait for others. That's my big thing, is don't wait for others. Start doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a part in the book called The Brief History of Punching Nazis. And it talks about how the mainstream media, the so-called liberal media, helped give the alt-right a space to grow too, because they kind of made it bad. It was bad. It used to be good to punch Nazis. I mean, we had Superman punching a Nazi, right, in a famous cartoon. But then it became, like you're saying, let's give these people, they should all have free space on the field of ideas. But when you're using the liberal tolerance to foment the destruction of tolerance, there is no room for that in a sane society, I think. And I think it's I think we have to get back to thinking that fascism is bad, right? I mean, the fact that that's even a debate right now. And the thing is, yeah.
So one of the things that Christopher Mathias discussed when I had him as a guest on Offense, he uses the term, and he does it in the book, he subscribes to militant anti-fascism, which, is open for interpretation depending on who's saying it and who's hearing it. It is a real question. It's very easy for people to come on the internet and say, of course I'd punch a Nazi. You're lying. You're lying. If you've said it and you've never punched a Nazi, you've had a chance sometime in your life to punch a Nazi. If you've never punched a Nazi, you won't punch a Nazi. That's the reality that we live in, right? I am 40 years old. I have never punched a Nazi. That's not correct. I have punched.
I was going to say, I don't see you never having punched a Nazi. Didn't you go in and infiltrate and do? Were you in some of those training rooms?
No. So
that Nazis?
Where you had to punch each other, right?
That was the alter me. So that was my friend Gabriel. That was who Patriot Front calls Bad Gabriel now. I have punched Nazis. I don't recommend punching.
Yeah, I mean, legally and peacefully, I guess we can punch them.
But militant anti-fascism is something that I personally struggle with. Like, I do think that we are reaching a point where relying on the systems as we have them,
yes,
the laws on the books don't always work. The neo-Nazi who showed up to my mother's house to hand deliver a death threat very clearly committed several felonies. He was charged with one, and it took $40,000 out of my own pocket and a year and a half to get him locked up. And I, especially after the stress that it caused on my family, like the immense level of stress that it caused on my family, the relationships within my family that are permanently affected. Like, the guy imposed a real cost on me. And the process wasn't just punishing for him, like having to go to court all the time. The process was punishing for me. I had to take off work. I had to spend, a few $1,000s every few weeks to fly down to Asheville, to, rent a car, to stay there, protect my parents' house further. And, I had the guy's address within hours of the incident. I could have disincentivized that behavior in one trip to Asheville if I subscribed to militant anti-fascism. And I'm left to wonder, like, should I subscribe to militant anti-fascism? Would it be a better use of my resources? Could I have taken those 18 months of effort and $40,000 of flying back and forth to go to court a million times just to get a continuance every time? I don't know. I mean, economically, might have made sense for me to have veered off, right? Like, and we're entering a time when more and more Americans are going to be facing that kind of choice, and this is not hypothetical or theoretical, right? We've got a massed police force that is kidnapping and murdering Americans on the street with absolute impunity. My first episode of On Offense, which premiered November 11th of last year, Veterans Day, when it was filmed like a week prior to that, I talked with Tad Sturmer about when was it going to be that these masked ICE agents start pulling the triggers. And within 2 months, it happened for the first time that we knew of at the time. It was actually the second murder by gunfire. And then a third in Alex Preddy was murdered just a week later. Should we ascribe to militant anti-fascism when we have masked thugs murdering Americans and the Department of Justice is actively prohibiting the FBI to investigate what are very clearly, clearly documented murders? Like, these are questions we have to ask ourselves.
Well,
everybody says, like, I'd be hiding, if I were in the 1930s, I'd be hiding people in my attic. I'd be shooting out the windows. No, you wouldn't. Have you done it yet? Nope. So,
well,
we're not the heroes of our imaginations.
Right. And it makes me think about, it seems, you don't know the beginning. You don't know the end, so we don't know what's going to happen here, but we do have historical parallels. And I think about, I could say, yes, you did punch Nazis legally and peacefully, right? I mean, that's how you went through the courts. And it was even more of an obligation and a dedication to do it. So it took more courage to do what you did than to just do that. But then I also think about, I'm just throwing it out there because I'm in the same place that you are, really, because I think about what Hitler said, that the only way that they could have stopped Nazism at the time is if they had understood what he was building and had smashed it on day one with overwhelming force. That's what he said. And it's really true when you think about it, when you go back, because then you have the story of Hans Litten, Litten, who sued Hitler, who put him on the stand, who deposed him. And every time there were Nazis committing violence against citizens, he took them to court and he sued Hitler. And what happened to Hans Litten in the end was that he was arrested after the Nazis took power and he died in a concentration camp. But he was, it just makes me, think about those two stories, that we can't underestimate what we're dealing with. And more will be revealed in our story. But I do think that's where they're going. That's where they want to go. They're going after, what's her name? Letitia James again. They're doing, they won't stop. So we have to not have failures of our imagination about what we're dealing with. Like, they're building concentration camps. So,
and I think it takes there are some things that I saw, like an article this morning that came out that one of the native tribes um, in Oklahoma bought the space that DHS was going to buy for a detention center. There's a big empty warehouse space that was supposed to be used for shipping. It's a big shipping center, big empty building. It was on their, as far as I know, it was on their land, and they bought it. And they said, nope, DHS, you can't do it. Second time that a tribal group in Oklahoma has done that. That's how we fight back as community. Is the entire tribal community said, fuck no, we are not allowing this on our land or near our land, and so we're going to buy it, and we're going to prevent them from using that space. That takes a lot of fucking money. It also takes a lot of courage for that community, because they know they're going to get targeted in the end for doing that, because they stopped DHS from doing what they wanted to. Yeah. Good. Well, welcome. And for people who didn't know, yeah, people in Oklahoma are fighting back. Right. Oklahoma is not as, I live right near Oklahoma. There's a lot of wrong in Oklahoma. There's also a lot of really good people there who are doing really good things and fighting back, and who do not have the same resource levels or the same visibility or even the same allies as those who are in bluer areas and blue states. Places in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, places like that, deep South or old Confederacy or wannabe Confederacy states. There's a lot of folks who are fighting back. They're just not getting the resources they need as communities to do these major actions to prevent the things. They don't want AI data centers in their communities. They don't want DHS and ICE detention and concentration centers in their communities. So some of the First Nations peoples are fighting back really boldly together. We need all of us doing that. Our communities can do that to prevent things. And that's where, like, I'm at too, in this weird place of, I never advocate for violence. I don't advocate for violence. I advocate for patriotic responses to things. I try and advocate as much as possible for peaceful, patriotic responses to things. That is different than lawful patriotic things, because patriotism, just because it's lawful, doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's patriotic to follow. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Turning your neighbors in for a bounty is not a patriotic act. It is the act of cowardice. It is the act of someone who's unwilling to go over and say hi to their neighbor and meet them and see them as a person. To fight back, we have to do that together, because they have the power of the government behind them and our tax base. And we can continue to push back on that as communities. Do what the First Nations people in Oklahoma are doing. Band together to buy these spaces. How do I think the new head of DHS is going to affect all of this? I think you're going to start seeing groups in Oklahoma come out of the woodwork. I think you're going to start seeing more Oklahomans banding together, because even though Oklahoma has gone red every district for a while, there's a lot of Oklahomans who do not like what's going on. There's a lot of Oklahomans who don't like Markwayne Mullin. They don't like his theatrics. They think he's a piece of garbage, and they see that what he's doing is wrong. And I think we're going to start seeing more people band together from Oklahoma. But what that also takes is people from outside of Oklahoma banding together with them, sticking up for them, inviting, asking, or listening to what they have to say, and then supporting it. Like, there are groups in Oklahoma that are asking for resources. Go support them. Put your money where your mouth is. If you don't want to go out and physically punch a Nazi, which is fine, go out and metaphorically do it by helping Oklahomans or smaller groups fight back on where fascism is embedded the most. Because once we get it out of red states, it cannot spread to blue states.
Well, it's the reason it's spread is because of propaganda. Let's get real. Like, we are in this silos of information. So we have half the country listening to right-wing propaganda, just outright lies. Fox News has more eyeballs than the rest of the liberal media, or the corporate media, I should say. That's not the liberal media. And were hit with the largest fine against the media company for lying to its viewers, or a judgment against a media company. And studies show that watching Fox News makes you less informed than those who watch no news at all. That has to get out there, but until we get, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what we're up against. So it's really kind of still processing. What do we do about this? But we all have to, everything else is like a Band-Aid on a bleeding artery, I believe. That's how we wake people up, is we have to get them out of listening to lies. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you saw what went on in the cabinet meeting yesterday, where Trump could barely keep his freaking eyes open, and the rest of them pretended not to notice. And then, of course, we have the revisionist history of people like what's his name, Dershowitz, and this is what they do now too. They time travel throughout history and say if Trump was alive back in the 30s, he would have smashed Hitler, and he would have saved us all from all.
He would have allied with Hitler.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, look at all this money I can make.
Exactly. He would have been like, "Where's my cut of the slave labor?" So he's doing
it right now.
Right,
like,
but
our modern equivalent
to
Hitler would be Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Oh yeah, right. He would be in the axis
We're
of
right
evil.
At the top of the hour. I didn't even realize we hit the hour yet. I was going to read one final quote, but Chris, you got to jump to. Let me get your QR code up here so you can promote yourself real quick and where people can find and support your work. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Chris Goldsmith, write for On Offense, which is part of Valor Media Network. So I just published the Substack. That's why I kept looking this way on ways that you can get organized. Like, I'm being a troll, right? With the video and with the headline of the Substack. That's deliberate. It's how we get attention on social media. There are links directly to how to create your own anti-fascist book club. So the goal is go to No Kings tomorrow, meet 3 people that you didn't already know, make concrete plans to meet with them within a week, and start your own anti-fascist book club. That's how you build relationships. It's how you build community, because you need to fight fascism in your backyard, not just in DC. Like, No Kings concentrating on Trump is good for an easy message, but in reality, you got to fight the fascists who are on your school board, or else fighting for the White House doesn't matter, because there's just unlimited amount of fascists to fill the next role. Right. So with that, I got to jump, guys, because I'm late for a meeting.
All right.
Thanks, see really appreciate you, brother. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right. And we are right at the top of the hour, but I want to finish with this quote around, because we're talking about like the difficulties of like this decision-making process. And this is one of the things that I think has led to a lot of difficulty for those who may be militantly anti-fascist, but are also, this is later in the book. It's on page 236, 237. It's talking about abolitionists and how. Nope. Sorry. I hit the up arrow on my board, and it was like, oh, let's go to that scene. Anyway, sorry, folks. So with regard to this, there's a kind of like ambivalence towards jailing folks and causing like punitive damage in that way, because abolitionists are against imprisoning people, and there's some of those who are very far left or very militantly anti-fascist can be anti-abolitionist at the same time, which creates a very interesting dichotomy in thinking and how they approach issues, because anti-abolitionists don't want people to go to prison. So I'm going to read this little bit of quote from later in the book, like I said, it's on 237, is the group wondered whether law enforcement, with all its money and gadgets and tools, had identified Hillman yet. He's one of the folks in the Patriot Front. The group wondered if this motley crew of anti-fascists sitting at computers could do it, why couldn't the police? Anti-fascists often nurse a profound ambivalence about the fascists they unmask getting arrested. Most of them are prison abolitionists, after all. An anti-fascist group in the Midwest called Anne Frank Army once described this ambivalence while considering what to think of the over 1,500 pro-Trump insurrectionists arrested for their part in the attack on the Capitol. Quote, with regard to abolition, there are 2 million people incarcerated in this country, all who we care more about than the fate of these MAGA rioters, and who in their privilege have rarely before in their lives experienced the pain caused by these prisons. This said, This said, we do not nor ever will work with cops to bring justice to these insurrectionists, as doing so gives legitimacy to the police state apparatus, which has never taken the very real threat of these racists and fascists seriously at all. They will use this legitimacy in order to strengthen their ability to prosecute, quote, extremists, which will then be weaponized against the left, end quote. And I think that's a really interesting take on it, because I'm not anti-abolitionist. I do think prisons have value, but I don't think they should ever be for profit. I think prisons should be for like actually rehabilitating and allowing somebody to then re-enter society as a corrected and fixed human being who has learned and has morals and values. I think justice should be restorative and should be able to help bring you forward, unless you did something like, if you're a pedophile,
Ted Bundy.
like if you're a pedophile, there's probably not much we're going to change about you. You can go rot somewhere. Like, don't fucking touch kids.
Right.
But if you're like a petty criminal and all these crimes that we have really to push down the black population and minority populations in this country, that's like, you should, if you're going to jail for something like that, it should be a corrective process to restore, and then you're out, and then you're done, and then you're not labeled for the rest of your life as a bad nuisance on society. Like, that's what justice should be. And I understand where Jesus.
What happened?
I keep screwing things up. I keep touching my keyboard with my book.
You're fine.
And so with the regard to the abolition thing is like, no, to be totally honest. And maybe it's because I'm not as militantly anti-fascist in that way that they are. Like, I would argue I am absolutely anti-fascist. I am currently not militantly anti-fascist, and I do not believe in the anti-abolition piece. I believe there is restorative abolition and things that we need to work on there. And we definitely need to rethink the 13th Amendment, because we created slavery out of prisoners. Instead of just having slaves, we have prisoners as slaves.
Yeah.
That's a wrong system. That's a bad system.
Yeah.
So I get it. And at the same time, like, the end result of unmasking somebody can't just stop at that. It has to go to the next step. Like, we have to prosecute. There has to be a punitive piece to it, or else it just continues. We can't slap people on the wrist for being racist. Can't slap somebody on the wrist, like, say, Brock Turner, for raping a girl. Saying, oh, but he has a future ahead of him. No. No. We have to put consequences to actions. And if they're going to perform those actions, they have to be willing to live with those consequences. And that has to go further than just, oh, I'm going to dox you. It has to go to what ended up being really expensive for Chris, but it has to go to that level. Like, it has to go to, you're prosecuted for it. Because if enough people become prosecuted for the crimes for these and have to face accountability, they'll stop doing them, whether they want to or not. Whether they truly believe the things that they're shifting towards or not is less relevant. The act of them stopping it is very relevant.
Well, it's not just about making them stop. It really is about what kind of society we want to be, I think. And
Yeah.
we have, because some people will not stop anyway. That's why there has to be consequences. But there's also, I'm sure you know, Obama had signed an executive order banning federal for-profit prisons, and the Republicans immediately, when they got power, undid that. So now we have for-profit prisons again in this country, and that was one of the steps that he was taking, that Obama was taking. I thought was a good step in the right direction. There should be no for-profit prisons. It's part of the reason we are the most incarcerated populace on earth, in this land of the free. It is disgusting. And it's not, and there is the punitive aspect of it, of course, because that's what conservatism is. It's really about hating your neighbor, being suspicious of your neighbor. It is the antithesis of what liberal democracy is supposed to be about. Like, we're supposed to be, we're supposed to care about each other. E pluribus unum. We don't leave anybody behind. And this is how fascists take hold. The divide and rule type of that, and that's what they're doing. Divide and rule. That's what they use to inflame racism, anti-Semitism, xenophobia. Us against them. We're real America. Right? I mean, even that, the way they campaign on these Republican campaigns. Oh, this is real America, and we're real Americans. Like whatever that is. But I know we're at the end of the show, pretty much, so I don't want to keep going on.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
My kids are yelling in the background, so I was reminding them they need to talk nicer to each other, both of them, so that they don't have yelling matches, because that's stupid.
Right. But I just want to say, to finish up, not to leave, tomorrow is the No Kings rally, as we know. So I hope everyone's going. And like Chris and Nick are saying, have an action plan to meet people and form communities, because it is not without benefit, because we are interdependent, interconnected, but organizers, and there's research on authoritarianism says that strong local multiracial community networks are one of the most effective ways of combating fascism in authoritarian politics, because when people are connected, I mean, it makes sense, you're harder to scare, harder to isolate through the campaigns of division. So you could see it for what it is. And and there's research that backs that up. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, I think that's great. We have to champion our communities. We have to champion together, being united, e pluribus unum, as Tara said, and as I've said in the past, out of many one. That is what we are. We are out of many diverse, wonderful, amazing human beings that make one great nation. Not white, not red, not black, not blue, all people under this united nation. We can make it great together. And that multicultural, pluralistic society makes us so much better. Like, I'm a better human being for knowing people who are different than me, because I have learned from them. I have experienced different cultures. I have experienced food. I have experienced song and dance and life. It's beauty.
It's
because
true.
I'm willing to just want to learn about it. Like, the biggest thing we're doing here, and maybe my biggest leave for everyone, before we switch to our QR codes here real quick to promote ourselves one last time, is build the community. Build that community. Is just go meet your neighbors, make friends. That's all we need to do right now, because we're fighting fear. And when somebody knows you personally, they're less afraid. When they know, or they can hear stories from someone they trust who is in their life, go bring them to a city. I said this the other day. Like, go bring your MAGA friends or your MAGA family who've never been to a city. Go bring them to a cool spot in a city. Go show them culture. It'll fucking blow their minds. Blow their minds. They'll go home and talk about that shit forever.
Right.
And then they'll want to do it again. And then they'll be like, oh shit, cities aren't as scary as I thought they were.
Yeah, because they've been lied to through their propaganda networks. Exactly.
But you have to build those relationships with them, and it's going to be fucking hard for some of us. It's hard. I'm not asking trans folks or gay folks to go out and make relationships, or LGBTQ plus community folks to go out and make relationships with people who are hateful towards them. I'm asking white people like ourselves, like me, like Tara, like Chris, to go out and purposely make these relationships, even knowing they're hard, especially knowing they're going to be hard. You don't have to maintain all these relationships, but the purpose is go out and help provide somebody something they've never seen before in a good way. Because just you being white and going, oh, hey, I've made friends with you a little bit, let's go to this city, and exposing them to culture they've never seen before, like I said, will blow somebody's mind in the best ways. Mm-hmm. But if I am not asking people who are minority communities or in dangerous situation, who are already marginalized, to go do that work, that's not your work to do. That's ours. It's ours to do. Go plant that seed. Yeah, like Jack said, go plant that seed so we can have more flowers. Let's till this garden better, and let's make a united America again.
Right.
One that doesn't have Donald Trump's signature all over our money.
God.
Fuck that.
What
That's
a scum.
stupid. Fucking stupid. All right. We've gone just a little bit over time. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us. Tara, promote yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to say the way I always describe it, it's sort of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. She goes from Kansas black and white to full Technicolor, and that's what it feels like with right wingers. I'm like, they just want to live in Kansas. It seems, they don't want to experience the Technicolor of the diversity of life. It seems to me, they want everybody the same, everyone in their place. So, okay, guys, check out my Tara Buster. Tonight we have a show, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Tara Buster YouTube channel. Thank you, Jim, in the chat room for keeping us safe. Tonight I'll have Boston Brian is going to be the guest. So we'll have a good conversation as always. And hanging out is always fun. So, and building community. So we have a great chat room. Thank you.
Love it. Thanks, Tara. And make sure you go see Tara's shows. She does a lot. We're working on getting her onboarded too with the broadbander system so that she can get articles out there. And yeah, thanks to whoever just scanned the QR code for Tara.
Yes, awesome. Please. And yes, thank you for that. Thank you.
And when you're done subscribing to Tara, come subscribe to my other platform, Sick of This Shit Publications. That's where I do masculinity discussions. I'm unabashedly progressive, and we are pro-dignity, pro-human, pro-values here. I am what would truly be considered pro, because I value life for what it is, and each person is important by themselves. So come join Sick of This Shit Publications, where you can have discussions like that. I talked with Joe Walsh yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Masculinity discussion. He and I don't agree on everything.
Yes.
He and I have very different opinions on things. We have different opinions on Israel. We have a different opinion on things that are going on. But one of the things that Joe and I agree on, and I asked him bluntly too, and he gave a fucking incredible answer about it, was I asked him straight up, are trans people? And his answer was yes. His answer was of course. Yes, they are. Wow. Of course they are. That is so fucking important, because Joe was someone who helped bring this movement about.
Yeah.
For those who may be bashing him or still bashing him, yes, he has things we don't agree on. And he has come out and unapologetically apologized and continues to do so, and continues to show the effort and live with the consequences of his actions and values to grow and move forward. And the tent that we need right now for pro-democracy has to include folks like Joe.
Oh, yeah.
It has to. We have to make that tent, and having conversations like I did yesterday with Joe, where we asked some uncomfortable questions. We disagreed during the show. We had people in the audience ask uncomfortable questions, and it was important and worth it. And that's what helps change and bring about the change we need, because both of us are pro-democracy and pro-dignity and anti-fascist.
Right.
And that's it. And that's what we need right now. And Sick of the Shit Publications is trying to bring that about and bring about a better manosphere that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, come subscribe with Banner and Backbone. Come subscribe to this publication so that you can help continue building the tools in the community to help get our information and our dialogues out there, to get our written content onto other platforms that are unexpected, and to bring about this information that you guys need to share so that you are informed, so that we're really well informed, and that we can have this community and discussion. So as Chris and Tara and I have all said during this show, is go be prepared for tomorrow, but not for safety. You all know how to be safe at a protest. We all know how to be safe at protests. Go be prepared to build more community. Go with a plan, go actionable, and go do it. Go bring that Veterans Fighting Fascism guidebook with you. Print a couple copies out. Go print a couple for your friends, and go bring them. Expand these groups, have these discussions in person, and build that community, because community at scale is democracy, and that's what we're building. So thanks everyone for being here with us. This has been a really incredible discussion into To Catch Fascist and things around it, and some of the topics within, looping back into real world situations that were going on right now and how we can fight back, and maybe some actionable tips for parents in there. So please go spread, like, and share this. Smash the heart one last time. Hit the subscribe button if you're with us on Substack. Scan the QR code if you are not with us on Substack and you want to follow along with our work for Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Parrow, joined by Tara Devlin and Chris Goldsmith. This is the Anti-Fascist Book Club here on Banner and Backbone. We will be back again next week at 1 p.m. Eastern, or 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. And so we will be back. We'll see you all again. We'll be continuing our discussion into To Catch Fascist. We're getting near the end of our discussion here and closing it out. And next week we will introduce what our next book will be, so everybody gets the opportunity to go buy one and make sure, or get it from their library and make sure they have it. So we'll see you all next week. Have a great week. Try and enjoy the weekend, and go be actionable during No Kings so that you can make democracy spread and not just feel good, but feel good and do something at the same time. So thanks, y'all. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.